And every day while slaves were being slaughtered and carted away across the waves, he struggled and kept his guard up. Inside he was longing for something to be a part of. The brother was ready to beg, steal, borrow, or barter. Then a hurricane came and devastation reigned. Our man saw his future dripping down the drain. Put a pencil to his temple, connected it to his brain, and he wrote his first refrain, a testament to his pain. Well, the word got around and said, this kid is insane, man. Took up a collection just to send him to the mainland. Get your education, don't forget from whence you came, and the world's gonna know your name. What's your name, man? Roll it. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Channel's name is The Third Ernest. I'm Ernest Ariano the Third. Y'all guys are the third family. If you're new here and you're not subscribed, consider becoming part of the family by clicking the subscribe button bottom right hand corner if you like what you see by the end of the video. Now, I've been wanting to do Hamilton for quite some time, and what better time to do Hamilton than on July 4th, the day after the play with the original cast is released on Disney+. I never found a reason to subscribe to Disney+. I was like, Mandalorian, not worth my $7 a month, but now I'll watch this hoe like 10 times a month, and that's well worth $7. And I got this play memorized word for word, first song to like 53rd song basically, and I had to like find a way, like what am I gonna react to where I'm not gonna get hit with a copyright strike, or the video's not gonna be blocked by Disney or whatever the hell, because now I'm sure Disney owns the rights and it's hard. I bet you it's super hard actually to like upload anything that's Disney related. So I was like, what song do I react to that like embodies the entire play? Because there's so much nuance. I could make like a 4-hour video just on the nuances of the play and the way that different sounds and different melodic tones and different instruments and different things relate to certain characters, and it builds tension and takes away tension. I could talk forever about it, but I was like, what video could I do one song for to where it's pretty much gonna embody the entire message of the play? And it's obviously gonna be this one, My Shot. This is the most official version of this song that I could find, and this was when President Barack Obama was in office, and he had like, I forgot what he had, it's like poetry in the White House or something like that, and they played this song like 8 years after in the same format he originally let the world hear the song Alexander Hamilton, the opening track, and everybody was laughing at him back then because they thought it was a joke. Who's laughing now? So I'm excited for this, man. So like I always say, there's really nothing to say other than follow your boy on Instagram and on Twitter at TheThirdErnest, just like the channel. Links are down in the description below. This song in the play is like song number 4, I believe, so it's like fairly early into the play, and it's the first time that we ever like hear Alexander Hamilton himself talk about himself and all the goals that he has once he reached the mainland in New York City. So it's like the first introduction into the character, so it's dope. That's all that I can say. But we got the original crew at the White House singing My Shot. Let's get it.
Ooh, who are you? Who are you?
Who are you?
Who is this kid? What's he gonna do?
I am not throwing away my shot. I am not throwing away my shot. Hey yo, I'm just like my country. I'm young, scrappy, and hungry, and I'm not throwing away my shot. I'ma get a...
All right, yo, like just to point out, this is one of the reasons why I picked this song, because he says I'm not throwing away my shot. My shot and like guns and shooting your shot, it's like a running theme throughout the entire play from the very first song all the way to the very end, because that's eventually how he died. Like Aaron Burr shot him. The shot theme runs throughout the entire play in different ways. It's fire. And when he says I'm just like my country, I'm young, scrappy, and hungry, the country was literally just founded or being founded at the time of the play. At least during the time of the first act, it was when the revolution was like building, it was gaining momentum. And Hamilton was young, scrappy, and hungry, trying to make a name for himself.
I'ma get a scholarship to King's College. I probably shouldn't brag, but dag, I'm amazed and astonished. The problem is I got a lot of brains but no polish. I gotta holler just to be heard with every word. I drop knowledge, I'm a diamond in the rough.
The rhyme scheme and the way that he accents, like he accentuates certain portions of the word so the rhyme stands out. I gotta be heard with every word. I drop knowledge. And that lot of brains but no polish line, this dude right here is the antagonist throughout the entire play. Is Aaron Burr. It's the dude who killed Alexander Hamilton in the duo. But Aaron Burr is very polished. He's very calculating. He examines the entire terrain first before he makes moves. And Hamilton is just like shoot first, ask questions later type shit.
I gotta holler just to be heard with every word. I drop knowledge, I'm a diamond in the rough.
Damn, man, that part's fire. And then in the play, like in the actual audio from the play, you can hear that in the background right before the beat drops again, yo.
With every word, I drop knowledge, I'm a diamond in the rough. A shiny piece of coal, trying to reach my goal. My power of speech, unimpeachable. Only 19, but my mind is older. These New York City streets get colder. I shoulder every burden, every disadvantage I've learned to manage. I don't have a gun to brandish. I walk these streets famished. The plan is to fan this spark into a flame. But damn, it's getting dark, so let me spell out the name. I am the AL.
Yo, man, it's so good. And it's dope because like his part of the writing is very intricate. Like his part of the rhymes, his rhyme schemes, his internal rhyme schemes. These New York City streets get colder. I shoulder every burden, every disadvantage I've learned to manage. I don't have a gun to brandish. Like that's very intricate rhyming. And it's dope because Alexander Hamilton, the whole basis of the play is that he wrote his way out of poverty, but into basically infamy, into the founding fathers, just on his pen alone. So it's dope that his portion of the song has that intricacy. And for a lot of people that don't know, and it might go over everybody's heads, unless you're like a 90s hip hop, like unless you know the song Shook Ones by Mobb Deep, you might not even realize that he referenced that song in this song. Like the entire play is basically how hip hop, how rappers make their way out of poverty, and how hip hop like brings people to the forefront, just in the same way that Alexander Hamilton did, which is why the play is written in rap. But he used an iconic ass line from Mobb Deep Shook Ones whenever he says only 19 but my mind is older. Like that's an exact copy of that line from that New York, like iconic New York rap group in the early 90s.
My gunshots will make you levitate. I'm only 19 but my mind is older. When the things get for real, my warm heart turns colder.
And he says the plan is to fan this spark, like he's just a spark into a flame and grow his name, but it's getting dark. Let me ignite this fire sooner so that way we can have light in darkness. Just everything is fire about it.
But damn, it's getting dark, so let me spell out the name. I am the ALEXANDER. We are meant to be a colony that runs independently.
And that sounded like the dun 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 dun. That's also another running theme throughout the entire play. The whole play starts with dun 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 dun. And just so you know, if you watch the play and every time that sound happens, we're fast forwarding in time. It's basically like an audio cue that you might not even realize, but when you hear it, you know that we're moving forward.
We are meant to be a colony that runs independently. Meanwhile, Britain keeps shitting on us endlessly. Essentially, they tax us relentlessly. Then King George turns around, runs a spending spree. He ain't ever gonna set his descendants free. So there will be a revolution in this century. And to me,
He says in parentheses.
but don't be shocked.
Yo, in the play, they break the fourth wall, like, I don't know, like five times maybe? I have never counted it out loud, but they break the fourth wall, which is that right there. Whenever he says, enter me, he says in parentheses. Like, that's not obviously how people talk. It's like they're reading the script. And then he's saying, enter me, Alexander Hamilton, into time. So he's literally talking about himself entering the United States history books right here at this moment in time, but also talking about the play in a very meta way, like enter Alexander Hamilton here, because this is the first time that we're actually hearing his plan. And if you don't know anything about American history, because you're not from the United States or Britain, where they might teach it on that side as well, just understand that we became an independent colony. We became our own country because we were tired of taxation without representation. Obviously the Tea Party Act, the Stamp Act. Actually, like if you want a funny, like Spark Note shortened version of American Revolution history, go listen to Oversimplified, like the American Revolution Part 1 and Part 2. It's so funny, I'll link it in the description of this video that has nothing to do with it. The shit is just funny and it's dead accurate with the history that's being told. It's fire.
So there will be a revolution in this century. And to me,
He says in parentheses.
but don't be shocked when your history book mentions me. I will lay down my life if it sets us free. Eventually you'll see my ascendancy, and I am not.
I will lay down my life if it sets us free. Eventually you'll see my ascendancy. Yo, fire, like the rhyme scheme, the internal rhymes. But that's another running theme amongst the play, is him not being afraid of death. He says it so many times in so many different songs within the play that he's willing to lay down his life. He's willing to die in the battlefield for this cause of setting his people free, or for this cause of freeing themselves from Britain's grasp. But basically that independently, century, and like endlessly, like that entire rhyme scheme from the part where he spells out his name to the very last bar that I paused it on, that's a long time to be rhyming multiple syllable rhyme schemes with the same rhyme pattern and with the same rhyme structure in terms of the vowels that are rhyming. Independently, Britain keeps shitting on us endlessly, essentially, relentlessly. King George turns around, wants a spending spree. He ain't never gonna set our descendants free. Revolution in the century, into me, parentheses. History book mentions me. Lay down my life if it sets us free. Eventually, you'll see my ascendancy. Yo, that's a long time to be rhyming that.
Eventually you'll see my ascendancy, and I am not throwing away my shot. I am not throwing away my shot. Yo, I'm just like my country. I'm young, scrappy, and hungry, and I'm not throwing away my shot.
That happens a lot in like Broadway plays where the person will say, the main character will say something, it'll be repeated right after. It'll be like my shot and my shot will run together. Like right here.
I'm not throwing away my shot. I am not throwing away my shot. Yo, I'm just like my country. I'm young, scrappy, and hungry, and I'm not throwing away my shot. I am not throwing away my shot. I am not throwing away my shot. Hey yo, I'm just like my country. I'm young, scrappy, and hungry, and I'm not throwing away my shot. It's time to take a shot.
I dream of life without a monarch.
And this song happens like while they're in a bar. So it's like time to take a shot because they're in a bar, but also time to take a shot and like free ourselves.
It's time to take a shot.
I dream of life without a monarchy. The unrest in France will lead to anarchy. Anarchy, are you saying? Are you? Oh, anarchy. When I fight, I make the other side panicky with my shot. Yo.
All right, so that's Daveed Diggs. If you've never heard of the rap group Clipping, it's an experimental hip hop group. It's not gonna be something that everybody likes because it has a very experimental, deconstructed sound. But he is 100% a legitimate rapper, like one of the better rappers out today. But Daveed Diggs plays Lafayette, like the French general. I don't even know what he was, but he's basically the guy that came in from our ally France, and he's the one that helped us win the American Revolution. But something to note and just to keep an eye on if you end up watching Hamilton, or if you've seen it, or if you've heard it and never realized, like you have the album but you never even realized, but as the play goes on, he's literally from France, so his English is broken right here, which is why he says anarchy. How do you say it? Oh, anarchy, like he needs help pronouncing words. But as the play goes on, his English gets better and better because he's in America for a longer period of time.
Oh, anarchy. When I fight, I make the other side panicky with my shot.
Yo, I'm a tailor's apprentice, and I got John knuckleheads and local parentis. I'm joining the rebellion because I know it's my chance to socially advance. Instead, it's always in pants, I'm gonna take a shot.
But we'll never be truly free until those in bondage have the same rights as you and me. You and I do or die. Wait till I sally in on a stallion with the 1st Black Battalion. Have another shot. Geniuses.
It's dope. Like it's crazy how eerie it is that first line even plays, like it plays a factor in today's political climate. Like we'll never be truly free until those in bondage have the same rights as you and me. He's talking about slaves right there. And here we are in 2020, or even back as far as like segregation, we were a free country, but they didn't have the same rights. It's fucking crazy.
With the 1st Black Battalion, have another shot.
Geniuses, lower your voices. You keep out of trouble and you double your choices. I'm with you, but the situation is fraught. You've got to be carefully taught. If you talk, you're gonna get shot.
Bird, check what we got.
See how like he comes in like not timid, he comes in very confident, but like what he's saying is the complete opposite of these dudes. These dudes are like, yo, we gotta go after it and go get it. And he's like, nah, you keep out of trouble, you'll double your choices. Like if you go and get it, you're just gonna get shot. Well, that defeats the entire purpose of the revolution if you're dead. But they're like, nah, sometimes you gotta take action. It's literally that's the running theme of Aaron Burr and Alexander Hamilton's duality in the play.
If you talk, you're gonna get shot.
Bird, check what we got. Mr. Lafayette, hard rock like Lancelot. I think your pants look hot. Lorenz, I like you a lot. Attach a plot, blacker than the kettle calling the pot. What are the gods?
You hear that rhyme scheme, bro? It's fucking crazy.
Bird, check what we got. Mr. Lafayette, hard rock like Lancelot. I think your pants look hot. Lorenz, I like you a lot. Attach a plot, blacker than the kettle calling the pot. What are the gods? The gods would put us all in one spot. Pop the squad in conventional wisdom, like it or not. A bunch of revolutionary manumission abolitionists. Give me a position, show me where the ammunition is.
Yo. Another thing that like runs throughout the entire play, which makes Lin-Manuel a genius writer, is that he uses like words that are part of the English language back then that have kind of like, they've faded out. They're no longer part of our normal language. It's kind of like old English language. He says a bunch of revolution, manumission, abolitionists. Like manumission is not a word that's said anymore. What's the definition of manumission?
Manument is a historical term, released from slavery, set free.
See, like we don't, like no one ever says manumission because it doesn't pertain in the English language anymore, because there's not, I mean, there's slaves all over the world, obviously, but in the United States at least. It's fire, like it's just the word that's the word choices that he uses.
Oh, am I talking too loud? Sometimes I get overexcited, shoot off at the mouth. I never had a group of friends before. I promise that I'll make y'all proud.
Let's get this guy in front of a crowd.
I am not throwing away my shot. I am not throwing away my shot. Hey yo, I'm just like my country. I'm young, scrappy, and hungry, and I'm not throwing away my shot. I am not throwing away my shot. I am not throwing away my shot. Hey yo, I'm just like my country. I'm young, scrappy, and hungry, and I'm not throwing away my shot.
Everybody sing!
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Hey!
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Say let him hear ya!
It's crazy how almost like every single rapper has a unique hand gesture and hand movement whenever they're rapping. Like Lin-Manuel does this a lot. Early Drake did this a lot. Lupe Fiasco is very descriptive with his hands, like his hand motions match what he's saying when he's rapping. Eminem does this a lot, like with his finger, like pointing the middle finger, kind of like this. It's just something that I've noticed about every individual rapper. They have their own way of keeping rhythm and having energy brought into the performance. And it's funny when he like realizes like, oh, am I talking too loud? Sometimes I get overexcited, shoot off at the mouth. Like sometimes, nah, bro, that's who you are, Hamilton. Like the entire play, you just shoot off at the mouth. Like shoot first, ask questions later, to the point where sometimes it gets him in trouble.
Come on! Come on, let's go! Rise up. When you're living on your knees, you rise up. Tell your brother that he's gotta rise up. Tell your sister that she's gotta rise up. When are these colonies gonna rise up? 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 Rise up!
Rise up is another running theme throughout the play, because it's like you're literally rising up to the occasion. You're rising up to free yourself from taxation and free yourself from the grasp of an over-controlling overlord, basically. But also in a much smaller sense, it's also like Alexander Hamilton rising up to like who he knew that he could be, from the very dirt bottom, from like the very poorest of poor, all the way to making like a major difference in the shape of the United States of America. Like he literally rose up from nothing to something. Fire.
Rise up! I imagine death so much it feels more like a memory. When's it gonna get me? In my sleep, 7 feet ahead of me? If I see it coming, do I run or do I let it be? Is it like a beat without a melody? See, I never thought I'd live.
Is it like a beat without a melody? Like, because I know a lot of people haven't seen the play before, so I'm not going to say too much that gives it away. That line has importance, but I don't want to say why, because you might not have seen the play yet. Actually, you know what? I am going to talk about it. I'm just going to put the timestamp right here to where you're going to go if you want to skip what I'm going to give away. So if you don't want to hear this explanation of why a beat without a melody has importance this early in the play, skip ahead to this time right here. But basically he's talking about, I imagine death so much it feels more like a memory. Like he knew from the very get-go he was destined for death, whether it be in the battlefield. He didn't die in the way that he thought that he actually did, with Aaron Burr actually shooting him during a duel. And the reason that he got shot during the duel is because he threw away his shot. And then the number 7 is also a running theme throughout the play when he says, when's it gonna get me? 7 feet ahead of me. But it's also the number 7 is like when the guy who shot and killed his son in a duel, he turned on the number 7 and instead of turning on the number 10. And then that's where the beat without a melody comes in, because that's literally what death sounds like a heartbeat without a melody. And then eventually when his son dies in the play, that's how it goes. Like you can, like all the music stops and you can just hear the heartbeat of his son. It's like a beat without a melody. Fire.
Is it like a beat without a melody? See, I never thought I'd live past 20. Where I come from, some get half as many. Ask anybody why we living fast and we laugh, reach for a flash. We have to make this moment last. That's plenty. Scratch that. This is not a...
And yo, that whole rhyme scheme right there. And again, the enunciation of the syllable where it rhymes. I never thought I'd see past 20. Come from some, like back to back to back. Get half as many past 20. Ask anybody why we living fast, reach for a glass. We have to make this moment last. That's plenty. And then he goes back to the original rhyme. That part right there is fucking nuts. But also he says scratch that, like scratch that idea. But also when the music comes back in off of this part, there's literally a scratch of vinyl record, like, and then the song comes in. Just so much nuance within the lyricism. And then the line when he says, see, I never thought I'd live past 20, that's like a direct reference to the fact that he was 19, but also where he comes from. Like everybody in his family died. He was an orphan that came to New York. And then on top of that, he wanted to be in the revolution fighting. So he thought that he would never see 20 because he was going to be alongside the people actually fighting in battle. But also the entire play is cast in minorities and mainly African Americans. And it's said that African Americans in the hood won't live past 20. That's like a very common theme throughout hip hop. J. Cole says it in the song as well. Just so much nuance that like it's like a perfect Venn diagram that you have to hit in order to get everything. You have to be a connoisseur of like hip hop and a connoisseur of rap, and especially early 90s rap, because there's a lot of references to it. The 10 Dueling Commandments, like that song is exactly based off of Notorious B.I.G.'s The 10 Crack Commandments. Like same exact concept. And you might not know that unless you've heard that Notorious B.I.G. song from like 1996. So you almost have to have like a great grasp on rap and rap history, but you also have to like Broadway plays in order to get that perfect moment in the Venn diagram where you're catching like everything. Anyway, but this rhyme scheme right here. Ask anybody why we living fast and we laugh, reach for a flash. We have to make this moment last. That's plenty. Scratch that.
This is not a moment, it's the movement where all the hungriest brothers with something to prove. When foes oppose us, we take an honest stand. We roll like Moses, claiming our promised land.
We roll like Moses claiming our promised land. Literally, Moses part the Red Sea so that way they can get to the promised land. Ironically, Moses died before he got to the promised land, and Alexander Hamilton dies before he could see the fruits of his labor. That's a bar.
If we win our independence, is that a guarantee of freedom for our descendants? Or will the blood we shed begin an endless cycle of vengeance and death with no defendants? I know the
Will the blood that we shed begin an endless cycle of vengeance, death with no defendants? Like just back and forth, war, back and forth, and we never get anything, we never make anything happen. But there's only one way to find out, and that's to go to war. We gotta take a stand, we gotta rise up, and that's the only way that we can find out. But then he says, if we win our independence, is that a guarantee of freedom for our descendants? That's like breaking the wall, but not at the same time, because he's literally talking about, like, if we gain freedom, is that a guarantee that our descendants and generations after will stay and remain free? But also breaking the fourth wall, that line is literally talking about like right now. And it's a line that's filled with such melancholy because like, yes, nobody is slaves in the United States, but at the same time, like, yeah, guaranteed freedom from slavery, but we're still fighting for civil rights. We're still fighting for equality, all those kind of things. It's like, it's such a smart line.
Cycle of vengeance and death with no defendants. I know the action in the street is exciting, but Jesus, between all the bleeding and fighting I've been reading and writing, we need to handle our financial situation. Are we a nation of states? What's the state of our nation? I'm past patiently.
Are we a nation of states? What's the state of our nation? That's a bar.
Are we a nation of states? What's the state of our nation? I'm past patiently waiting, I'm passionately smashing every expectation, every action, act of creation. I'm laughing in the face of casualties and sorrow. For the first time I'm thinking past tomorrow, and I am not going away.
For the first time, I'm thinking past tomorrow. Like, I can actually make a difference here. My life is not one day at a time anymore. And he says, smashing every expectation, every action's an act of creation, bro. 1776 bar, fam. Because literally every action that they took, they were creating something. They were venturing off into uncharted land, uncharted waters. Every act that they took from the moment that the revolution happened, they were basically forming the country that had never been formed before. That shit is like nuts.
For the first time I'm thinking past tomorrow, and I am not throwing away my shot. I am not throwing away my shot. Hey yo, I'm just like my country. I'm young, scrappy, and hungry, and I'm not throwing away my shot. We gonna rise up, time to take a shot. We gonna rise up, time to take a shot. We gonna rise up, rise up. It's time to take a shot. Rise up, rise up. It's time to take a shot. Rise up. It's time to take a shot. Rise up. Take a shot, shot. Hey yo, it's time to take a shot. Time to take a shot. And I am not throwing away my shot.
Yeah. And then the way that the song ends with like the same notes that the play begins, and that whole dun 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 that I was talking about. That song ended with that.
And I am not throwing away my shot.
Fire. Yeah. If y'all haven't seen Hamilton yet, if you haven't at least listened to the soundtrack from the original studio recording, listen to it. Don't even listen to the fucking remix album. That shit is ass. It's not ass, but like, it's not the play. Once you get the magic and get everything that's happening within the song, you don't want to hear a different version of it, you know? But yeah, if you haven't seen it yet, or at least heard the Broadway recording of the original cast, these people right here, listen to it like front to back in order, because it's a play. It's got progression. There's a reason why it's a juggernaut that just like completely shot all the way to the top to Richard Rodgers Theater. It's inventive. It's innovative. It's honestly genius writing. But yo, that brings us to the end of today's video, ladies and gentlemen. If you like what you saw, this is a live recording, so it's not the same as watching the actual play on Disney Plus, or it's not the same as listening to the original version, like the studio recording version, because you're gonna be able to hear all the little nuances. But if you like what you saw, please consider liking the video, leaving a comment down below. If you like the analytical breakdown, the in-depthness that we went into, consider subscribing, because that's how we do it every video. Follow your boy on Instagram and on Twitter at TheThirdErnest. Hit up the Discord also at TheThirdErnest. All these links are down in the description below. And that brings us to the end of our video, ladies and gentlemen. Like I always say at the end, go out there in the world, love and care for one another, love and care for each other. I'll catch everybody on the next video. Peace.